Alrighty. Hello, everyone. I'm Jacquelyn Sims. I'm a UX researcher here in Oklahoma City, and today I'm going to be talking about inaccessibility in Scarlet and Violet, which is the 9th generation of Pokemon games that released last November. So, as most of us are familiar, Pokemon is a video game franchise where users play the game by catching pocket monsters, Pokemon, and doing with them. Scarlet and Violet in particular were ambitious games for the series that transitioned the franchise from a linear story to an open world design. This came with many changes to the game's initial layout and structure, but today I want to focus on 4 accessibility issues that came from one major change, which was showing accurate Pokemon models in the overworld. So in previous generations, you couldn't see Pokemon at all until you started an encounter. So you'd go from the overworld, you'd be walking in the grass, and you'd encounter, and then be taken to a separate battle arena. This changed in Generation 8, where you'd be able to see what was called a generic model. You'd be able to see just what that Pokemon was, but not any of its specific traits, like whether it was smaller or larger, the gender of the Pokemon, or any other variants in its form. Then that Pokemon would be transitioned to an accurate model in battle for Generation 8. In Scarlet and Violet, though, battles take in the overworld, so all Pokemon have accurate models at all times. So Pokemon of different sizes have accurately sized character models in the overworld now, meaning that smaller Pokemon, like this bird Pokemon Rookidee here, are almost impossible to see, especially when you consider that the Switch screen is about this big. So users were having a lot of trouble even noticing that Pokemon was there. They'd run into them, they'd miss them in testing, and so it was just an issue where users couldn't see primary objective, the Pokemon they were trying to catch. To improve visibility on these, I would personally revert these changes from their Generation 9 sizing back to their Generation 8 models. In addition to model sizing, having an accurate overworld meant that for the first time, what are called shiny Pokemon were visible before starting an encounter. Each Pokemon has what's called a normal form and a shiny form. The only difference is a color palette. So normal forms are the standard, and then there's this uber rare difference where just the eye color is different in this case. Players are super interested in shinies. They're like 1 in 4,000 odds, and players will spend weeks, months, even years trying to find these Pokemon. But users in Scarlet and Violet couldn't even notice them. Can y'all spot it? He's right here. Yeah. So to fix this, what I would do is improve the contrast between the original versions and the shiny versions, so that way users can see them much more clearly. Into the color difference, shiny Pokemon have a signature audio chime and sparkling animation when starting an encounter or a battle. Here, let me play this real fast. Oh, darn. I guess it's not gonna hear the audio, but you could see the little sparkles that popped up there. This worked beautifully at the beginning of the earlier generations where Pokemon battles were the first time you saw a Pokemon. But when Pokemon were spawning in the overworld in Scarlet and Violet, they didn't have these cues. So users couldn't even notice the Pokemon had spawned that was shiny. To fix this, I would just change this action here from when a battle starts to when a Pokemon spawns. Okay, we move to the next slide here. And lastly, the game's heads-up display doesn't inform the player that a Pokemon in view is shiny. So here, it shows just the Pokemon's name and whether you've caught it before and what the Pokemon's level was. But in menus and other things, there's that icon there for shiny Pokemon. My proposal would be to add that to the heads-up display so users can always see a shiny that is in view. And whenever you're locked on that specific shiny, it showcases that as well. So in conclusion, Pokemon Scarlet Violet brought new challenges to the game's overall design, but the game suffered from crunch and were put the Christmas season, leaving many players unsatisfied with the game's overall level of polish, let alone any thorough testing. The COO himself of Pokemon admitted very recently, this was last week, that Pokemon is now considering changes to their upcoming releases to better provide quality products. So here's hoping that Generation 10, after spending time in development, produces a better user experience. And that concludes my talk. We have a few minutes for questions. There's also my link, so you can find my link there.